Hi there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 215 of our Be a Better You annual challenge. We're doing one thing every day this year to be a better version of ourselves, a better human being. Why? Because that's pretty much all we can ever do, right? We can do other things outside of us, but internally, if we're not straight with ourselves, then we will struggle. So today I'm going to share a process for identifying your emotional core values. We're focusing on emotions all this month, and we've talked about what emotional health and well-being means to us. We've talked about our thoughts and beliefs, and we've taken a look at them, which helps us to identify what our core values are. So I'm going to share a 5-step process to identify your emotional core values, and then I'm going to challenge you to do an exercise with this every morning. Let's do it every morning for the rest of the month. Step 1, reflect. Well, I guess let's skip ahead and talk about, why do we even care about this? Why is it important? Well, our emotional core values help us, and I've learned over the decades of trial and error that our core values, what's most important to us and deepest in our heart of hearts and in alignment with who we authentically really are, those are the things that will drive us. Our emotions drive us all the time. We're looking to feel a certain way, and all of our actions, all of our behavior moves us toward that on a continuous basis. It helps us make clear, authentic decisions. If we're making decisions that are in alignment with who we really are, our authentic self, and what's most important to us, then it's easier to make decisions because we know if something is or is not for us kind of right off the bat. Creativity is one of my core values. Love is one of my core values. Continuous improvement is another one of my core values. Not necessarily emotionally, but those are the 3 that come up all the time. And there's others, of course, and I'm going to do this exercise right along with you today because I like to do it every year. I do it in each of the different areas and aspects of my life because I want to make sure that I'm staying up to date and being true to myself and consistent. Consistency is probably another one of my core values. It helps us build boundaries, protect our energy. It improves our relationships. It helps us attract the right people for us to be in different types of relationships with. It heals emotional wounds with intention. We intentionally look at our core values and say, okay, this thing happened, this pain happened to me a long, long time ago. I can probably let it go now. I'm 65 years old and it happened when I was 4. Maybe it's time to let it go. And then we can actually follow a process to let go of that. We'll talk about this month. We'll let it go and we'll move on and we'll replace it with something that is more in alignment with who we are now. We can lead with inner integrity rather than seeking outside approval. The truth is, just like motivation, everything comes from within us. We think that all these external factors control us and impact us, and sometimes they do, but it's always our decision and our choice how they will impact us. We can say, oh, isn't it awful, the political environment or the COVID pandemic or whatever? Yeah, but it doesn't have to be awful for us. We can take lemons and make lemonade. We don't have to say, woe is me, and focus on the negative. We want to be switching, and we'll talk about flip switching this month because I love that strategy. We'll talk about switching to what does work for us, right? We can focus on what doesn't work for us, and we'll keep getting more of that, or we can focus on what does work for us and get more of that. So let's talk about this process. Step 1. We are going to, I'm looking at people's stories. I don't want to do that. I want to go to step 1. We are going to, and I've got it right in front of me, but I can't see that far. We're going to reflect on peak emotional moments in our past. That's the first step, is to go back and think about, when did I feel awesome, deeply alive, elated, ecstatic, super in the flow and involved in something, and enthusiastic and emotionally positive, rich, happy, loved, etc. Whatever the most positive emotions are for you. What did I feel in those moments, and where and why were these emotionally significant to me? I always, when I first started doing this exercise, I used to go back to a time when my family and my grandparents and my cousins, everybody, we were having a family birthday celebration or something. I don't even remember whose birthday it was. But I remember looking around that table as a little girl. I was probably only, 5, maybe 5, and thinking, there is so much love here. And I felt so loved, and I loved everybody there so much that is one of those moments that sticks with me and reminds me that love is one of my key core values in every area and aspect of my life. So we're looking for moments like that. And they're different for each of us, right? What what emotionally charges us is different for each and every one of us. They might be similar situations. They might be different, but they're definitely different core values in different times of our lives. Then we're going to do this, but with the pain points. We're going to, step 2 is to identify the pain points and those situations, those experiences that we've all had in our past that were painful or frustrating in our life. Times that we felt betrayed, angry, drained, or lost. And we're going to ask ourselves what emotions were missing or violated during that experience. And I can, of course, think back to my divorce and felt betrayed, angry, drained, lost, pissed, super duper angry and frustrated, but mostly betrayed, and found that I actually blamed myself when it had nothing to do with me. And I had to let go of that. But those are the type of situations we're looking for, because we want to know what would have changed the emotional outcomes of that. And is there anything that would have? Maybe, maybe not. It's always our perspective on it, right? But we want to also ask ourselves, what values were compromised or not honored at that moment? One of mine was fidelity and honesty and integrity. All of those, I guess. All right, step 3, we're going to look for patterns and recurring emotions. What emotions pop up for us a lot? I used to, and I still find it rears its ugly head often for me, is frustration. If something isn't how I expect it to be, I automatically jump to frustration. And I realized about a week ago, I need to take it and do a little more work on that particular emotion to eliminate it, because, and it's all a matter of redefining frustration, right? If I define frustration as I get upset anytime something isn't how I expect it to be, guess what? I'm frustrated all the time. So I'm going to look for patterns like that in recurring emotional themes that are popping up for me. Here's another one. I realized that if I ask one of my granddaughters to do something 3 times and they don't listen or respond, I jump to frustration and upset. Well, that's ridiculous, right? They're 2 and 4 years old. They're toddlers. Toddlers don't do what you ask the first time. Usually they're so involved in what they're doing right now, I don't even think they can hear us. So that means I need to change my approach, not expect them or anyone else outside of me to change what they're doing, because they don't. People do what they do for their own reasons, not for our reasons. Number 4, prioritize your top emotional values. What are the ones that pop up and are most important to you? I already shared a couple of mine. It's pretty easy to know by just watching our life. Step back and observe and become more aware of what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel, what makes you feel positive, what makes you feel negative, what riles you up, what triggers you. Look for those things. And then step 5 is to define for yourself what each of those values looks like in action. For example, what does the emotional value mean to you? So what does love mean to me? What does loyalty, or I don't think loyalty is not one of mine, I guess. It's important to me, but it's not like one of my top core values, especially with respect to emotions. But what does the emotions, pick your top 3 to 5 and say, okay, well, what does that look like to me? If I know that I'm feeling that way, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And add different emotions to that. Visualize it, and so you've got a good picture of it in your mind. Then what behaviors support that? What type of behaviors in myself support me being able to feel that way? Why? Because I can only control myself. I can't control anyone else. And then what violates it? What would violate that particular emotion? So, for example, love is one of my very, very, very core values, of course. And for me, not for everybody, but for me it is. And when someone is unfaithful and betrays the trust of that love relationship, my primary love relationship, that's the end. That's it. All done. So what violates yours? What violates your consistency? What causes you, if consistency is one of yours? I never thought I was super consistent, but then I've noticed that I've done a daily video for 2,744 days. So I guess I'm pretty consistent. All right. And what would violate that? I mean, I'd have to be really sick or something would have to happen that I absolutely positively couldn't do it. And it did happen. COVID 2019, Christmas Day, I had COVID so bad, I could not even get off the couch hardly to go to the bathroom, much less do my video that day. So that's an example of what would violate my consistency or my ability to show up when I said I would show up. All right. So what are we going to do today? I wanted to share some real life stories, but I think I'm going long on this, sharing my own stories, my own experience. But if you'd like to hear somebody's story, hit me up and ask. Otherwise, I'll shorten this and share one in Supersize Your Business. Otherwise, what are we going to do today? We are going to list our top emotional highs and lows. We are going to extract the emotional values from each one of those experiences. We're going to choose 3 to 5 top emotional core values and define what each looks like for us. We're going to share the list with somebody that we trust. Now, you can just write yourself a note if you don't have anybody that you want to talk to about your core values. And then 5, I challenge you between now and the end of this month, each morning, sometime, usually when you first get up, if I'm adding something new, I have to do it as soon as I wake up. But each of us are different. But begin each day with one action that aligns with your emotional core values. So I already do a lot of things that align with my emotional core values in the morning as soon as I get up. They're built into my morning routine. But if you don't have anything like that, just challenge yourself every morning to say, okay, I'm going to do something that makes me feel loved today. I'm going to do something consistent today. I'm going to do something creative today right off the bat. You know, maybe you make yourself an awesome, creative, fun breakfast. Whatever is in alignment with your core values. Any questions about this? Hit me up and ask. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I will, of course, see you tomorrow.